Hello students. So today I'm here again with the remaining part of the second unit. So only three type topic of the second units are left to cover. So first is the barrier property, and in under the heading of barrier property we will cover about this polymer permeate relationship, and last we will talk about how to measure the permeability. So after reading or after going through these slides, you will be able to define what are the different barrier properties and how these barrier property affect the quality or the characteristic of any packaging material in for transportation of any kind of gases or aromatic compound or kind of flavoring compounds. So this is the schematic diagrams, and in which it has been shown that this slight bluish patch is indicating it is a packaging material, and how this gas transfer, or you can say this water vapor transfer or the flavor transfers, can take place from outside to inside, and interestingly it can also take place from inside to outside. If we talk about the different type of packaging material, then metal and glass are the example of the packaging material which are impermeable to the gases, or you can say the low molecular weight compound. So we have to deal only with the plastic or the polymeric compounds. In case of plastic and the polymer compounds, there is a exchange of gases or the aromatic compounds which are having low molecular weight. Mhm. Okay, yeah, next slide. So if we explain the barrier properties, it is simply the resistance to sorption and diffusion. There are the two terms. One is the sorption and second is the diffusion of substances such as gases and flavor and aroma compound. So basically barrier properties indicate the resistance, the ability of the packaging material that can resist the entry of these gases and flavor and aromatic compounds. So what can be the problem if this there is entry of the gases or water vapor or these aromatic compounds? It can lead to the plasticization of the polymer by sorptions at the ambient vapor pressure, and it result in the decrease in the mechanical property that we have already studied. So if your packaging material is not a good barrier to the gases or the water vapor, it can lead to plasticizations. Plasticization is simply a process of swelling of polymer when a certain amount of water vapor or any solvent has absorbed on the surface. So, and it can, second problem, it can be the loss of the component, for example CO2 or the flavor compound and so on, from a beverages in the plastic bottles. So you may have experienced, like, we generally use to package this carbonated beverage in the plastic material, and if the barrier properties are not good, so with the passage of time there will be a loss of CO2, and generally we used to prefer the carbonated beverages for their afferences properties. And if the CO2 has lost, then when we will open it, then afferences will not be there, and ultimately consumer will not accept that product. So the protection of the material inside any food product depend on the two things. The protection of the food from the gases and the vapor exchange with the environment depends on integrity of the packages. Integrity of the packaging means this closures and the seals. Okay, so if it is a glass or a metal, then there is a no problem of the exchange of gases. Problem arises when the packaging material is of plastic. So I said the protection from the exchange of gases is a job of, first is the closure. Closure is the cap, and sealing, that seal we provide to prevent the leakage or to prevent the contact of outside environment and the product. Second is the permeability of the surface of this packaging material. So in the third slide, I'll talk about how to determine or what are the factors on which this permeability depends. So number one, there can be a pore effect in which the gases and the vapor flow through a microscopic pores, pinholes, and cracks in the materials. So according to this line, it can be that if the packaging material is not intact one, and if it has some flaws, like there are some microscopic pores, holes, or cracks. So via these openings, so minute openings, the gases can be exchanged from outside to inside or inside to outside. Second, it is very rare, but the common, or you can say the topic of our interest is this solubility diffusions, solubility diffusion effect. So in this, in which the gases and the vapors, first they dissolve in the polymer. Listen, first they dissolve in the polymer at the surface, then they diffuse through the polymer. First they dissolve, then they diffuse, and how they diffuse? They diffuse by the virtue of concentration gradient, and finally they evaporate at the other surface of the polymers. So what happens? First they dissolve, then they diffuse, and finally they evaporate. So this is also known as solution diffusions, and it is also known as activated diffusions, and it also termed as true permeability. So this true permeability or this activated diffusion or the solution diffusions depends on two law, or can be described by two law. One is the Fick's law and second is the Henry law. So according to Fick's law, so the diffusion flux of a component A in an isothermal isobaric binary system is proportional to the concentration gradient in a particular directions. So diffusion flux means how rapidly your gaseous material or the water vapor or any aromatic compound is entering in the product via the packaging material is directly proportional to the concentration gradient in a particular direction. So it can be explained by this equation particularly. So this is has analogy same to this your Fourier this what do you say this Fourier's law, or you can say this rate of heat transfer. So this Q is the amount of heat transfer minus Ka dt by dx. So in the coming, I think in the next year you will study about how heat transfer takes place. So this is the equations which explain the rate of the heat transfer. So according to these equations, Q is the rate of heat transfer. It depends on the temperature difference divided by the dx is the thickness. Higher the thickness, less will be heat transfer. Higher the temperature gradient, higher will be the Q. And it also depends on a constant that is known as thermal conductivity. So on the same principle, this equation has been designed, in which the J is the flux, D is the diffusivity constant, and dC by dx. This is delta C by delta X. Delta C by delta X here represent the concentration gradient. Here it is written J is the flux or the rate of transport per unit area of permeate. Permeate means, for example, if we are dealing with CO2 gas, that will be permeate through the polymer. C is the concentration of permeate. D is the defined as the diffusion coefficient. Del C by del X is the concentration gradient of the polymer across the thickness del X. Second is the Henry's law. So I think you have studied about the Henry's law. For example, if we study about the solubility of the gases in the liquid, so according to Henry's law, the solubility of the gases in the liquid directly depends on the pressure, outside the pressure. For example, there is a cup or there is a beaker in which some water is there, and if we fill it with the CO2 at a normal pressure, and in the another cup or in another beakers we have the same amount of the water, and if we increase the pressure of CO2, then the solubility of CO2 in the second beaker will be high because the pressure we have increased. So the solubility of the gases is directly proportional to the pressure of the gases. For example, in the room, if we have increased the CO2 concentration and the pressure, and if vessel we have kept in that room, so the CO2 will dissolve at a faster rate, or it will be irrespective of any gas. If the pressure is high, then the solubility will be high. And to remove the proportionality sign, we used to put here a diffusivity constant, and it is known as Kh, or it is represented by Kh. So here it is written S is the gas. Amount of gas that can dissolve in the liquid depend on the following. Number one is the pressure, the amount of gas in the space above the liquid. So this is the pressure of the amount of gas on the surface, and this diffusivity constant depend on the which liquid we have taken, which gas we have taken, and what is the temperatures. So to explain the diffusivity constant and this sorption constant, I'm again coming to the first slide. I said that the permeability of the gases takes place by two mechanisms. One is the this crack holes and pins, and second is the true permeability. So we will talk about the true permeability only. So it is the diagram which represents the true permeability. So here we have shown that there is a metal sheet, there is a plastic sheet. Okay. So how this solution diffusion or diffusion solution uh, process activated diffusion will take place. So these round circle are indicating these are the gas molecules, and here the concentration of gas molecule is very less. So first of all, the gas will adsorb on the surface here, and this is known as the dissolution, or it is explained by the Henry law. Henry law says if the pressure of the gas is high, then there will be a solubility of the gas, or there will be adsorption of the gas at surface. So once it is entered or once it has accumulated on the surface, then a concentration gradient will build up, and as we can understand, the concentration of the gases at the surface will be high, and let's see here the concentration of the gases that is coming from outside is less. So the movement of the gas molecule will be from the high concentration to the low concentrations. So this movement of the gaseous molecule or the water vapor molecule will be explained by Fick's law. According to Fick's law, the flux of the gases or the permeant will be directly proportional to the concentration gradient. So here the concentration gradient is high. If the concentration gradient is high, there will be higher diffusivity. And finally, after reaching here, these molecules will be, you can say, evaporated, or there can be a desorption from this surface to the outside environment. So this is a combined process in which your two process or even three processes are taking place. First is the adsorption of the surface, then there is a diffusion of the material through the thickness of the material, and third is the desorption, that is the transfer of the molecule from on the other surface. I hope you understand this. So to explain it, let's come to this particular handwritten notes. So same thing has been shown here. This is the packaging material, and here a pressure P1 exit, and here a pressure P2 exit, and here the concentration is Ca1, and here the concentration is Ca2. So first of all there will be adsorption, followed by diffusion, and finally there will be desorption. So when the concentration of gases, see first what will happen, there is very less concentration of the gas molecules in comparison to the gas molecule in the environment. So first of all there will be a transfer, or there will be adsorption will start. After some time the surface will get saturated, and that will be equilibrium conditions, mean neither, means there will be no movement in or out from the surface. Now your surface has been saturated, and this is known as equilibrium conditions, in which there is no further addition of the molecules of the gases or water vapor from surrounding to the surface. So here the concentration at the equilibrium condition, the concentration of the component in the film material will be directly proportional to the partial pressure of the gas. Partial pressure of the gas here. So C will be directly proportional to pressure, and when we remove the proportionality sign, it will come to S, and S indicate the solubility. Fine. Before this, we were talking about Henry's law, and according to Henry's law, S is equal to directly proportional to gases. Okay, and now we are talking about the concentration. Concentration is directly proportional to the partial vapor pressure, and if we remove the sign of proportionality, it will come to solubility. So this S can be calculated by these equations. This is the equation for the ideal gas. PV is equal to nRT. So PV by RT, sorry, P by RT. P for any value of pressure, R is the gas constant and T is the temperature. This number of particles of that gas molecule divided by the volumes can be calculated if we have the value of pressures. So from here we take a note that C is equal to Sp, and in the next step, at a steady state conditions means there is a constant movement of the particles from outside to inside. Then this flux. Now I was talking about Henry law. Now I'm talking about the Fick's law. The gradient upon resistance. Flux will depend on the gradient upon resistance. So gradient is the C2 Ca minus Ca2. The concentration of particle in one plane minus concentration of particle in the another plane. So this is the concentration gradient divided by the resistance. So what is the resistance? Basically, resistance is Z by dz. Z is the thickness, higher will be thickness, lower will be flux. Fine. Higher will be the concentration gradient, higher will be the flux. If the difference of Ca1 and Ca2 is high, then it will increase the value of J. Okay. And if Z thickness is high, then it will decrease the value of J. Divide by diffusivity. So if the diffusivity high, then it will reduce this thickness value, so it will promote the flux. So from here we can rearrange these equations. So we will bring this dg on the upper side. So this dg will be finally dg, okay, in place of c. Now we will replace this c by sp from this equation. C is equal to sp. So c can be replaced by sp1, like ca1 is there na. Ca1 means concentration, and it can be replaced by sp1 and sp2. So sp1 and spa1 and spa2. From these equations we have taken common our sg or s, you can say. So finally we left with pa1 minus pa2 divided by z. So this d is the diffusivity and S is the solubility of the gas inside the film. So the multiplication of this D and S, DG and SG, or you can say D and S, is known as phi, and it is also known as permeability. In some literature it also indicated by the term P. See, now there are three terms. One is the diffusivity, second is the solubility, and third is the permeability. So diffusivity is here, okay, and your what to say now, this S is the solubility, and when you multiply this diffusivity and solubility, you will get the permeability value. Fine. Now I'm coming to the next part, that the polymer and permeant relationship. For example, permeant can be your carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, ethane, methane, oxygen, helium, hydrogen. Fine. And your polymer can be HDP, LDP, polystyrene, PET, polyacrylamide, whatever. So what is the relationship? According to the finding, it has been observed that the permeability ratio of two gases is relatively constant and independent on the polymer type. Fine. What does it mean? For example, we see that, like, the P is indicating the permeability, D is indicating the diffusivity, and S is the solubility. Solubility is coming from your Henry's law, diffusivity is coming from the Fick's law, and multiplication of these two is giving the value of permeability. So permeability ratio of two gases, like here if we talk about carbon dioxide and oxygens. So oxygen, the value of permeability oxygen is 3.8, or you can say it is almost 4, and CO2 it is 24. So you can say that the permeability of the CO2 is 6 times of the oxygen, and if we compare the permeability of carbon dioxide with the nitrogen, then the permeability of carbon dioxide is 24 times of the nitrogens. So it means that they have a fixed ratio, means if you know the, for example, if you know about the value of nitrogen permeability of any polymer, then you can calculate the value of CO2 as well as oxygens, because oxygen is almost 4 times of the nitrogen, and carbon dioxide permeability is almost 24 times of the polymer. So it means it is a the permeability ratio, like permeability ratio of N2 and O2, if we take, it will be 1 by 4, is relatively constant. Either it is SDP, LDP or any other material, and it is independent on the polymer type. So here it is the general table, and now I'll talk about a specific table of LDPE, in which we will talk about the diffusion, solubility and permeability constant for low density polyethylene at 25 degrees centigrade, CO2, O2 and N2. So you can see here, this is the value of diffusivity, and this is the value of solubility, and this is the value of your permeability. So the permeability of nitrogen is coming around 0.97, almost equal to 1, and permeability of oxygen is coming around 3, and it is almost 13, you can say. So the permeability of the carbon dioxide is 13 times to the nitrogens. Okay, and it is 4 times of the oxygens. So in the previous case there was a difference. Here the permeability of the CO2 was 24 times than the nitrogens, but in this particular case it is coming around 13 times. So that was a general table, it is a specific table. So it is, there is a difference, but almost the ratio will be remain same. Here it has changed to 1 to 1. If we talk about the nitrogen and oxygen, the permeability is 2.9 and here it is 1. So it is the ratio of 1 is to 3 in this case of polyethylene, and as a general it was 1 raised to 4. So there is not big difference. We can say that there is the permeability of the gases doesn't depend on the your polymer types, means permeability ratio, sorry, not permeability ratio of gases is independent on the polymer type. So this is the learning from this particular topic. Now, yeah, you may be worried that CO2 has the highest permeability, and N2 and O2 have comparatively low permeability. Even the size or the molecular weight of the CO2 is higher than these two gases. So here is the answer, that the largest CO2 is the largest of the three gas molecule, has the highest permeability coefficient. In fact, it has a low diffusion coefficient as would be expected from its relative size, but its permeability constant is highest. How the permeability constant is highest? See, diffusion constant, the CO2 diffusion constant is less than oxygen. Okay, but the solubility of the CO2 is higher than the oxygen. As a result, the solubility and the D value, when we multiply these two terms, it is giving the better permeability. Understand? So your the molecular weight will define the diffusivity, and the solubility is independent on the molecular weight. It will depend on the surface characteristic and the gas that is interacted, and finally the P will be affected. So your answer is why CO2 has better permeability, because the solubility of the CO2 is better than oxygen. Why it is more soluble than oxygen? If you will do some text kind of thing, you will do Google, then there are so many theories. Some people are saying that there is a dissociation of carbon dioxide and it from carbonic acid on the surface if some moisture is present. Some people says that oxygen do not split into another. So there are so many theories. That is not our job. For your sake of this lecture, I'll say this. You keep in mind the solubility of CO2 is higher. Despite being a low D value, it indicates the high P value. Now I'm coming to the last part, that is the measurement of the permeability. So if in this heading there are three main headings, that is the how to determine gas permeability, then water vapor permeability, and third is the permeability of the organic compound. So first we will talk about the gas permeability. So in the gas permeability there are the four methods by which we can determine the gas permeability. One is the pressure increase method, second is the volume increase method, third is the concentration increase method, fourth is the detector film method. So when we talk about the gas permeability, we should keep in mind about the two factors. One is the partial vapor pressure and second is the total pressures. For this you have to read bit about the Dalton's law. According to the Dalton's law, the total pressure is equal to the sum of the partial pressure of individual gas. You may have studied, I think. For example, there are two gases A and B in a system. Then the total pressure, let gas A is exerting around 100 kg pressure and Newton per meter square pressure, and another is exerting a pressure of 200 Newton per meter square. Fine. One is exerting 100, another is exerting 200. So what will be the total pressure if we fill a same chamber with the two gases? The total pressure will equal to 300. Fine. If we talk about the partial pressure, for example, there is a container of the same volume, like the volume is 100 ml. First we have filled it with the oxygen, second we have filled it with the nitrogen, or you can say any other gas. Oxygen, provided there should be non-reactive gases, means there should be no reaction between the two gases, then only it can be observed. If the gases are reactive, then we will not observe this type of phenomena. So first is the total pressure. Total pressure is the sum of the partial pressure of two gases. I give a practical example. If there are two gases, one with the 100 partial pressure, another with the 200 partial pressure, then the total pressure exerted by the gases in the same volume will equal to 300. So what is the partial pressure actually? Partial pressure of the gas is that, for example, we are dealing with the 100 ml vessel and in which we have taken two gases. If we will fill the same vessel with the individual component, and the pressure exerted by that individual gas will be termed as the partial pressure of that gas. Okay. So how to determine the pressure increase method? It is very simple method in which what we do, we take a specimen. Okay, here something is written, test gas. For example, we wish to determine the permeability of oxygens. So that will be termed as test gas. It is introduced at a pressure 1 atmosphere on one side of the flat film or the sheet, which is spotted with a filter paper and a sealed with O-ring, just to provide the spot, because the pressure outside is high. The pressure in the receiving chamber is measured with the open-ended mercury manometer. So in this case, the volume will remain constant. In the pressure increase method, the volume will remain constant. What we will do, we will take the specimen. On the one side, we will create the high pressure. On the other side, the pressure will be low. So there will be a diffusion of gas from high concentration to low concentration. As the diffusion of gas will take place, the region where the pressure was low will increase simultaneously. Fine. So when this increase in pressure will takes place, it will be measured with the help of manometer, and we can determine or we can calibrate it further that how much pressure has increased, and finally we can correlate with the amount of gas that has been traveled. So higher the pressure increase and higher will be the permeability. Too obvious. In the second case, there will be a change in the volumes. So in the change in the volumes, we will keep the constant pressure. constant pressure on both sides, and we will allow the second chamber to increase in the volume, and that rise in volume can be noted down, and it will give the direct indication about the permeability. Higher the volume rise, higher will be the permeability. Third is the concentration increase method. In this, the partial pressure difference across the film with respect to the test gas is created without a difference in the total pressure. Here it is bit different. What he is saying, we will take a specimen. In that specimen, on both sides, the total pressure of the gas we will keep constant. Fine. But we will change, or we will manipulate the partial pressure of the test gas. For example, we wish to determine how much this packaging material is effective to stop the entry of carbon dioxide. So in one side, on the outer side, we will increase the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, and on the inner side we will replace this carbon dioxide with the inert gas. For example, we can introduce nitrogen gas, so that the total pressure remain constant, but the partial pressure of CO2 decreases. So the transfer of gases from one side to another side doesn't depend on the total pressure, basically it depends on the partial pressures. So what it is, thus obviating the need of the rigid spot of the film. A partial pressure difference is maintained by sweeping the one side continuously with the test gas and maintaining an inert gas on the other side, so in which the test gas diffuses. So yeah, what happens, we take a sample on the both side, the total pressure was same. What we did, we manipulate the another side, in which the we reduce the partial pressure simply by introducing the another gas. Okay, so replacing it with the another gas, so there is a diffusion of the test gas from high concentration to low concentration zone, and finally that concentration can be determined by the gas chromatography or any thermal imaging or thermal scanning devices. So this is the concentration increase method. There is one more method that is known as detector film method, and this method is based on a film which is coated with a detectors. So the basis of the method is a plastic detector film. There is a plastic detector film impregnated with a reagent that is sensitive to gas being measured. So it is very simple technique what they do. Yeah, let me finish it first, then I'll explain. The film has a absorption spectrum that changes as the gases or vapor is absorbed, and is thus suitable for the spectrophotometric monitoring. The detector film is sealed between two pieces of the test film. Here it is the method how we perform it. The detector film is sealed between two pieces of test film in a simple cell, so that the permeation rate of the penetrate gas or vapor can be readily measured. So here is a practical example. See, this is the film that is used to detect the O2 transfer, and for this a particular film ethyl cellulose is taken, and on the ethyl cellulose there is a coating of this dimethyl anthracene, one compound, and another compound is erythrosines. So the base material is ethyl cellulose, and on which we have impregnated, or we have coated with, we have uh, coated these two materials, DMA and erythrosines. So in the presence of blue light, this erythrosines can activate O2. Let the material, your material is allowing the O2 to transfer, so the oxygen will be transferred, or will be transported via your test material, and it will absorb on the your film that you have taken. And now what you will do, you will apply a blue light, and in the presence of blue light, erythrosine can activate oxygen dissolved in the ethyl cellulose to form singlet oxygens. So your oxygen that was coming via the packaging film or the test film will be absorbed first in the ethyl cellulose. Then this erythrosines will activate it to form a singlet oxygen. And this singlet oxygen is no more stable, is a reactive form of O2, and singlet oxygen, which has a lifetime of only a microsecond in the film, diffuses into a neighboring DMA molecule and react with it. So first oxygen come to this ethyl cellulose. From ethyl cellulose, this compound did activated it, and it formed a singlet oxygen, and this singlet oxygen finally interacted with DMA, and the DMA molecule, and thus the disappearance of DMA monitored in the UV light is a measure of O2 consumes. So this is a colored compound, and this color of this particular molecule will disappear as much, means the fading in the color, or you can say disappearance of color, will directly related with the O2 absorbed. So as a result, we can determine the oxygens that was permeated. So last, not last, it is second last, the water vapor permeability in the third heading. So how to determine water vapor permeability? I'll try. Luckily it is working. So to determine the water vapor permeability, there is a simple
which
test.
operate independently, enable you to test and duplicate.
Yeah, you can list.
Each cell receives water vapor from the relative humidity well. During testing, an RH probe automatically ensures the specified percentage of water vapor is supplied to the cell. The instrument operates as follows. The test sample divides the cell into two chambers, one with the water vapor at a constant RH and the other with a nitrogen carrier gas. The available range of RH is fully saturated 100% or controlled between 35 and 90%. As soon as the water vapor molecules permeate through the film, they are picked up by the nitrogen carrier stream and taken to the detector. The flow rate of the nitrogen stream keeps the carrier side of the film at virtually 0% RH, thus maintaining a constant driving force throughout the test. A pulse-modulated infrared detector is used to measure the amount of water vapor in the nitrogen carrier stream. The WVTR is
So this is a hi-fi method. You can see here there is a transfer of the water molecules, and this is the test material. On these sides we have created an environment which is having the nitrogen. Fine. So these molecules, here the higher concentration and as a affinity of this material and the diffusivity of this H2 particle, it will enter here, and here there is a moist N2 flow sensor. So it will, by the help of these sensors, we will say this much amount of the water vapor has entered. So there is one more video I'd like to share, that is very simple test. According to that video, oh, where it is, maybe here I think. It is the same.
either into or out of the
I
package.
think this is the same video that we have.
Out the test operate independently. Relative humidity vapor is supplied. The available range of RH is fully saturated. A pulse
Okay, same video. No? This may be the another video.
Packaging materials. Here is the equipment you will need.
Vapor transmissions. How you will determine the vapor transmissions? Let me
This
brief you.
video will demonstrate how to
Very simple procedure in which there is a glass battery plate. In this glass battery plates, we will take this material, and this is, I mean, these are the adsorbent basically, you can say. We will fill it in the battery plate, and then we will apply a kind of coating material that we wish to test, means we wish to examine on. We will wrap this packaging, this battery plate, with the film that we wish to test, and we will keep it inside, and then we will determine this, means we will maintain a relative humidity inside, and it will depend on the permeability of that packaging film, how much moisture has been trapped by the this anhydrous calcium oxide. Fine. And then we will determine the change in the weight, means initial weight minus final weight. That will be the water vapor transmission. So please enjoy the video.
determine water vapor transmission rates of packaging materials. Here is the equipment you will need. First, label the pre-trip plates. Triplicates per film according to the information provided for each film sample. For each film, you will have 2 samples and 1 control. The film samples will be pre-cut into 13 centimeters by 13 centimeters for you. Weigh around 50 grams of glass beads into the pre-trip plates serving as the control. weigh around 50 grams of anhydrous calcium chloride in the rest of the pre-trip plates. Cover the pre-trip plates with the films and secure using elastic bands. Trim off the excess films from each plate. Record the initial weight of each plate. Pour saturated potassium nitrate solution into the glass container and place it at the bottom of the desiccator. Replace the porcelain plate.
This particular solution is responsible to maintain a particular humidity.
Then place all the plates into the desiccator using anti-pre-trip plate covers as spacers. Place the desiccator in a 38 degrees Celsius incubator. Arrange with the TA to come in and weigh the plates in the next coming days. Quickly equilibrate the plates to room temperature. Then record the rate of each plate. Record also the exact time. Then place the desiccator back in the incubator until you are finished with data collection.
There is one more slide left to explain, that is about the permeability of organic compound. So if we talk about the permeability of the organic compound, very less literature is available and no more studies have been conducted. Some studies on the aromatic compound have been conducted, and it is a particular example of limonene. Limonene is something related with the citrus fruit, and it was recorded that the diffusivity of limonene in the polypropylene varies from 3.7 to this much at the same temperature and RS, but the different concentration in the vapor phases. So this is the case of this your what you say HDP film. In case of SDP, it is varying from 370 to 1700, 10 raised to minus 16 meter square per second. So these are the two cases, mean to say that the organic compound has not that much interest. The main uh, what you say the thing is that is of our interest are the gases and the water vapors. Fine. So with these words, I'll say thank you, and second unit is complete. I'll try to upload it by evening. Have a good day, and if you can give me some feedback, you can write me on the WeChat. Thank you very much.